All right, you can go ahead, Councillor Utley.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to City Accommodation Task Force meeting. Has roll call been taken?
Yes, it has. I can confirm it has been taken.
Okay, thank you very much. For those that are viewing from the public, we welcome you. And I'd just like to remind the task force and our viewing public of a few procedural rules for our virtual meetings in operating as efficiently as possible. All members will be muted for the meeting to reduce feedback. All web cameras for task force members shall be turned on. This is to ensure quorum is maintained. Staff will be requested to join the video meeting should the need to answer questions of members arise. Any member of the task force should indicate they wish to speak by physically raising their hand on camera. Movers and seconders should indicate by show of hand, and votes will also be taken by show of hand. In the event of connection service interruption occurs that affects quorum of the task force, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, the meeting will be adjourned. I would appreciate it, going back to one of the points, if you could use the raise hand signal at the bottom of the screen, that would be appreciated. And I can't see everybody that raises their hand. So Kelly, if you could help me out in that regard, I would appreciate it very much.
Will do.
Thank you. Are there any members of the task force that have declarations of pecuniary interest for items appearing on the agenda? If you do, please say yes and state your name. I hear silence, which is wonderful. Presentations and delegations. There are no delegations or presentations for today's meeting. Items for consideration. There are 4 items for consideration on the agenda today. 4.1, Brantford Police Services Facility Redevelopment Funding Sources. 4.2, proposed flagpole location for City Hall events. 4.3, Accommodation Strategy Projects Progress Update. And 4.4, Final Report Accommodation Task Force. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Lise, and provide an overview of 4.1, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, the report that's before you today with respect to the police funding source report is in response to the Accommodation Task Force request at our last meeting, where staff were asked to report back to identify how the estimated revised budget of $39 million for the Brantford Police Services Facility redevelopment would be funded. So this report provides or identifies rather that since 2019, when the project was identified as an expansion or a relocation, the project has been identified to be funded through a combination of development charges at approximately 38.7% or up to approximately $15 million, and the rest is through debt. Although the project is eligible for a total of up to $15 million as a result in development charges, only $1.9 million is currently available at this time to be used. However, the collection of future development charges would be applied to the debt servicing payment until the total amount of that project is eligible, that it is eligible for, has been received.
That's it, Lise?
Yep.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder for this item, please? Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Carpenter. Any discussion? Councillor Martin?
Yes, thank you. Part of this project, the cost for this was elevated because of the need for mitigating carbon dioxide. So part of it was the green features of the building. Is there a funding source to cover that part of it from somewhere else? Do we not have an account for environmental projects?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can answer that question. The retrofit for doing carbon neutral hasn't been approved in the project budget yet. We've been directed to go back and look at what that would cost and then report back. We would also be at the same time looking at any available grant funding that we can apply for, including any loans through CFM or any kind of funding that might supplement that. To answer your question about the energy management funds, we do get $100,000 to implement energy management upgrades at various facilities, but I'm not sure that that would cover very much of it. So we would probably seek out grants in favor of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you. Lisa, how does this budget, the square footage building cost compare to the OPP station that the county built on a square footage basis?
I'm not sure what their cost came in at. I can investigate that, but we're around between $5 and $5.50 a square foot for this. But of course, that is a combination of renovation, which is much smaller per square foot cost, and plus the addition would be the higher square footage cost for that overall.
Thank you. I'd be interested in knowing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? If not, Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Chair Utley. Lise, sorry, just following on what Councillor Carpenter just said, what is the average cost for a development of this sort per square footage? And what has been, if you have any information regarding other facilities we've built, like the water, I don't know what the building is. It's the one we just built. What was the cost per square foot there?
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. The cost was just less than $400 a square foot for, that's the environmental services admin and operational building. That was back, those were 2014 dollars, however, or 2016. I'd have to think of, yeah, 2016 dollars. Pricing in construction has escalated significantly over the past few years and is expected to continue to rise just as a result of some of the issues of COVID, and the cost of wood and steel have been just going up significantly over the past little bit. And I think Brian would like to add something to that as well.
In addition, if I can, this is a pretty specialized building. I've been involved with 4 police buildings in the past. When you get into prisoner management and some of the specifics when it comes to labs, there'll be laboratory equipment as well as a shooting range and things like that. So labs are usually $750 a square foot. Prisoner cells are up $750 to $1,000 a square foot. So this is an average. The 550 is an average. So with the renovation we're doing, adding on, it's actually pretty economical price at this point in time, versus the water treatment plant was just an office. So there's some pretty specifics here.
Awesome. So Lisa, if you're going to be gathering that information for Councillor Carpenter for this committee or for wherever it's going to go, I would love to see comparisons for averages, just industry standards, or averages for other bills that the city or our partners or people we know have been a part of, as long as it's easily accessible public information, right? I understand that, you know, this particular project is probably very particular. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I can bring that, add that as a memo to this report going to council if approved, if that's okay.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Councillor. Elise, can you make sure that we're comparing apples with apples? I think to make a comparison with the new OPP station, it was a complete new build, and we're kind of doing a combination of new and renovated facilities, if you would please. Are there any other? I don't see any hands up. So with that, I'll just read out what we're voting on here. That report 2021-231, titled Brantford Police Services Facility Redevelopment Funding Sources, be received. So with that, Kelly, can you call a vote, please?
Oh, Councillor, you're welcome to do it yourself and just ask everybody to show raise their hands.
Okay, if you could raise your hands and keep them raised until your name has been called, please.
We actually don't need to list the names of who has voted either. We just have to say whether or not it has carried.
Okay. It looks like it's been carried. I'll take your word for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to 4.2, which is the Flagpole location for City Hall. Again, Lise, will you give us an overview, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Gord Gavrilovic, our new manager of Facilities Capital Development, will be providing a very quick presentation for your visual interest.
Thank you. Councillor Carpenter, I put your name down on the list. Did you want to speak to this afterwards?
No, I was just going to move it.
Okay, thank you. And could I get a seconder? Councillor Wall. Okay, let's get the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Gord Gavrilovic. I'm the new manager of Facilities Capital Development. And as Lise said, I will give a presentation on the report proposing new location for flagpoles for City Hall flag raising events that has been submitted to the task force. Typically, sorry.
I say thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Typically, ceremonial flag raising celebrations have been held at the City Hall. Examples of some of the larger events include Black History Month, Volunteer Week, and Brantford Pride Week. As we transition from the current City Hall to the new City Hall, these flag raising celebrations will also need to transition. Unfortunately, the new City Hall location does not have suitable space for flag raising events. The streetscape surrounding the building is constrained, and there are busy roads making it unsafe for participants. Harmony Square, which is a city-owned property, is visible from the City Hall and is across the street on Dalhousie, as well as already being a central place of activity and gatherings for the downtown, was identified by staff as an ideal and complementary location for future flag raising celebrations. City staff analyzed what would be required to allow for flag raising celebrations at Harmony Square. It should be noted that at the current City Hall, there are 2 flagpoles flying the Canada and city flags, and typically special celebration flags would be added to the city flag during raising ceremonies. Ideally, the number of flagpoles at the new location would be at least 3 flying the Canada, Ontario, and city flags, with a special occasion flag added to the city flag during raising ceremonies. There's also desire to have sound and public address system available during the ceremonies. Unfortunately, these systems are already present at Harmony Square. Another desire is to have LED floodlighting illuminating the flags with the added ability to change the color of the lighting to acknowledge a variety of different events and celebrations. The Sanderson Center, which is nearby, has such a system which illuminates the sign valence at the front entrance, and the colors are changed as required to acknowledge various events and celebrations. The design and construction staff fully developed design plans for 3 proposed concept areas, and we'll have a look at those now. If we can go to the next slide, please. Concept area 1, located in the grass area adjacent to the walkway on Dalhousie Street. Some of the advantages of this option include that it has the desired 3 flagpoles. It is close to the new City Hall, and gathering space is available on the walkway, which will not interfere with entrance into the square. Some disadvantages of this option include it is too close to the pedestrian sidewalk, making it awkward and hard to accommodate large gatherings. As well, it does not have the ceremonial space for potentially solemn gatherings. If we can go to the next slide, please. Concept area 2 is located at the prominent area adjacent to the water fountain near Colburn Street. Some advantages of this option include good visibility from inside the square as well as from Dalhousie and Colburn Streets. It has space to accommodate large gatherings, as well as being a location with ceremonial space for potentially solemn occasions. The location also does not interfere with the operation of the water fountain or with the placement of the seasonal Christmas tree. This is also the lowest cost option. Some disadvantages of this option are that it only has 2 flagpoles, making it the least flexible option for displaying flags, as well as perhaps not being prominent enough display that befits the new city hall. If you can go to the next slide, please. Concept Area 4 is also located at a prominent area adjacent to the water fountain near Colburn Street. Some advantages of this option include having 4 flagpoles, allowing for the display of the Canada, Ontario City, and perhaps maybe a permanent Harmony Square type flag, as well as having a dedicated flagpole for special occasion flags. There is good visibility from inside the square, as well as from Dalhousie and Colburn Streets, with space to accommodate large gatherings, as well as being a prominent location with ceremonial space for potentially solemn occasions. The location is an impressive and prominent display that befits the new city hall, and I think the photo truly demonstrates this. This location also does not interfere with the operation of the water fountain or with the placement of the seasonal Christmas tree. The only real disadvantage of this option is that it is the highest cost option. Although this is the most costly option, staff are of the opinion that this concept provides the prominence needed for celebrating, acknowledging, inspiring, and or bringing awareness in our community to a variety of different occasions. Therefore, staff recommend Concept Area 4 as the concept for flagpoles at Harmony Square. This concludes the presentation, and now I will open it up for questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Gord. We have 2 speakers on the list, Mayor Davis and Councillor Wall. Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think of all of us, I've got the most experience in dealing with flagpoles. I was out there this morning, and you know, flagpoles, they're so highly symbolic, and I've really come to appreciate that being mayor and having attended a number of flag raisings. And you can't underestimate the symbolic significance it has to our city, to the participants that are involved in flag raisings. It's a very serious occasion for them. And so you want to make sure that where your flags are and how you arrange them, you know, creates a presence, a very symbolic presence, and very meaningful and impactful. And you know, the other 2 options we looked at, yeah, they're slightly cheaper, and generally I'm all in favor of spending less money. But this is something that'll be in place for decades, right? And we want it to be something that's proud and symbolic. And I think Gordon's done a good job of summarizing it. But there's also another reason for it. And I ran into it this morning, which is, you know, we've got 2 flags for this week. It's National Volunteer Week, then the Sports Council is running a complimentary program. And you try and put 2 flags up one pole, it gets complicated and doesn't look very good. And you know, whenever we're doing that, of course, we're pulling down the Brantford flag, and we don't have an Ontario flag. So I think having 4 gives us a lot of flexibility. We can, generally speaking, it's generally 1 flag, but even if we have 2 flags, we could, you know, do as we do now, take down the Brantford City flag and run up the 2 flags for the week up the 2 poles on the right. We'll always have the flag of Ontario, always the flag of Canada. And, you know, maybe we can even mix things up, whether it's when we don't have a special week, maybe it's Harmony Square, maybe it's a Laurier flag, because I mean, obviously that's pretty much the center of the Laurier campus, or close to the center, and they do a lot in the square themselves. So I think there's a lot to recommend that option number 4, although I agreed the cost is a bit higher. But let's just remember that we're doing this for future generations, and we don't want to be thinking, why didn't they put another pole in here? And also there's just the whole presence of the 4, they're balanced, you know, 2 aside. It's the right thing to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. Councillor Wall.
Okay, a couple crazy questions, but I'm looking through the report here. Maybe I'm just missing it. How high are these going to be if we do this 4 option? What is the height of the flagpoles?
Through the chair, these are about 35 feet high.
How does that compare to the flagpole at City Hall now?
They are a bit less than the current City Hall flagpoles, but we need to take into consideration kind of where they're being installed, and you don't want to overwhelm Harmony Square with really big flagpoles and flags. So I
Okay.
think the way it was designed, I think they complement Harmony Square.
Cool. I'm also 100% in support of the 4 flagpoles. So next question is there any safety concerns around the 4 flagpoles? Even like, I feel crazy saying it, but it's like lightning or like storms, that kind of stuff?
Not to my knowledge, but we can definitely go back and investigate that.
And then I have another concern, and it's just something that I don't know if you guys have thought about, but I imagine you have, but if you haven't, I'm bringing it up. Kids love to just play with things and vandalize things, and not just kids, but adults too. And I don't know if we've ever had anybody tamper with the flagpole at City Hall, but where Harmony Square is a park, and there's just going to be hundreds of kids in normal times, like what precautions would we have to prevent kids from trying to climb the flagpole or to play with the rope that's tied around the flagpole? Or is that something that's been considered?
Through the chair, I can answer that, Gord, if you want to add to it afterwards. But the flagpoles are not climbable. Just their state of how they're designed, very straight up. There's no areas where they can, leverage their feet or hands to be able to climb up the poles. And the cords are at a height that is more of an adult height for lowering and raising them, and they're typically locked as well at that point. So
okay. And just City Hall is it's a different place than Harmony Square, right? And I just think I wasn't sure if that's something. The next question then is, at City Hall, the poles are up on like a concrete post or something. I'm trying to describe it to you. You know what I'm talking about? Would these posts at Harmony Square just be right from the ground up, or would they also be up on top of?
Yeah, I can answer that question. They are to be put inside the flower bed around the fountain. And so they will be raised slightly, and there is a plan to put in some hardscaping in the flower bed, some kind of flagstone.
Awesome. If you could just take into consideration, I guess, or wherever, somewhere in the report, I would be genuinely concerned about preventing tampering with the flags, preventing kids from climbing on the flags, or, to me, I've been at Harmony Square when there's been hundreds of kids just, and we've had a history of people sticking stuff down inside of like the fountain heads or trying to stop the water from coming out. Like, it's curiosity and kids people being people, I suppose. I'll stop throwing the bus kids. That's not fair to them. Yeah, I support the idea 100%. I just want to make sure that they stand tall and proud in Harmony Square for a long time.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions, comments? I don't see any hands up. Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, great job on the report, Gord. I was impressed with the report and the recommendations. Specifically, I was impressed with the policy. Going through the corporate policy, you talked about the flag etiquette, the federal flag etiquette policy, and following that policy manual. Because a lot of, if we drive around town, I see some flags at some of the halls and so forth. They're not following the flag etiquette. The Canadian flag is not flown at the highest level, and I have the flag etiquette here by my side. I'm very much a fan of flying Canadian flags and being a proud Canadian. I think the thing that you didn't show there that I think that we should think about, which is going to be quite nice, is the reflection it's going to have off of the YMCA. And the flag's reflection off of that glass building is going to be quite unique for the Harmony Square as well. So I think it is a great location. For sure, it's going to show up over the embankment down to whatever gets developed on that far side. But it certainly highlights Coburn Street as well. So kudos to you. It's a very good report. I went through it. As critical as I try to be sometimes, I couldn't find anything to be critical about. It's a very good report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. As the mover, would you like to read out the A, B, and C, please?
Sure. The
Oh, I'm
staff
sorry.
report,
Before you do that, I've just got Mayor Davis, and then I'll get you to read that out if you wouldn't mind. Mayor Davis.
Yeah, just a quick question as someone who stands at the bottom of the poles and raises the flag. So Gord, yeah, there will be something then for you to stand on in case it's raining or something. You're not getting all muddy and.
Yes, that's the intent, to have a hardscape down below the flagpoles.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, Councillor Carpenter, if you mind reading that, please.
yes, what I had moved was that staff report 2022-322 final report, City Accommodation Task Force procedural bylaw requirement be received, and that staff report, oh yeah, I'm in the right one. Sorry. Staff report back to the necessary progress. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong one, ain't I? Sorry, let me jump back here. Here we go.
You want to start again?
Yeah. That report number 2022-326 titled Proposed Flagpole Location for City Hall Events be received, and that staff be directed to proceed with the concept area number 4 flagpole location for ceremonial flag raising at Harmony Square, and that the corporate policy number 004 flag flying at municipal venues and corporate policy number 049 community requests, proclamations, and flag raising ceremonies be amended as attached in Appendix E, and that the necessary bylaw to amend bylaw 70-20 in the year 2010, being a bylaw to adopt various City of Brantford policies, be presented to City Council for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And that's Councillor Wall, you seconded. Okay, Councillor Martin.
Just one quick question. What happened to, what's the wording here? Concept area number 3.
Yeah, I can take
I'm
that
sure
question,
staff
Mr.
know how to
Chair.
count. So.
I was fearing that would be asked, but yes, there was a concept area 3, but it was determined that it wasn't a viable option. That there was no use in moving forward with it, so we just eliminated it from the report.
I figured it was something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. No, I can sleep tonight as well now, so now I know that. The only comment I like to make before we vote is I think this will do a lot to really show off the image and impact on our beautiful downtown in that location. So it's from different angles, and it's just going to be a spectacular site. So with that, if you would raise your hands, please. Oh, Councillor Carpenter, you have a comment?
Sorry, yeah, something just sparked my there's been times when the mayor has had to make decisions about flying flags at half-mast. Have we adjusted that for the policy too going forward, so the mayor has, some leverage in making being able to fly flags at half-mast for reasons that maybe staff may not be aware of, but as politicians we would be. Thank you.
Yes, if I can, through Mr. Chair Utley, that was made that adjustment back in November. The clerk brought that forth. We've maintained that in this policy, and I know you've made some comments about the work of the policy, and I just want to say Gord's done a great job in this for his first report, but Lori Don Cavan behind the scenes has done all the research and all the work behind the scenes as well regarding the flags, but the mayor will have the ability to change those a half-mast or whatever, so it's there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodgins. So with that, if you would raise your hands, please, for those in favor. Any opposed? I don't see any. Kelly, you got that?
I did. It has carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 4.3 Accommodation Strategy Projects Progress Update. Lise, do you want to lead this with your team, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yep, we have a couple quick updates here. The first one will be a very quick visual presentation on the new City Hall update, and Patrick will address that one. Then we'll move on to just a very quick update on the police project that I'll give, and then Gord will provide an update on the POA and the Community Services and Social Development Group accommodations that are starting up this year as well.
Thank you, Lise.
So let me get going. Good afternoon, members of the task force. I hope everyone's having a great start to their Monday or end of their Monday. My name is Patrick Bellina. I'm a project management specialist with the facilities department and the project manager for the new City Hall. You will all be happy to hear that we are getting very close to project completion and occupancy. Formal occupancy has been delayed due to the need for a gas meter upgrade to operate at the emergency generator, but otherwise the project is virtually complete. We are very excited to show off the new space to staff and citizens alike once we attain occupancy and it is safe to do so. But in the meantime, we are also excited to show you some updated photos of the council chambers and your future accommodations. Next slide, please. So what you're looking at here is that you're looking at the council chambers, which is located on the first floor and is the heart of a new City Hall. In the top left is the council chambers horseshoe, which will be seen from citizens, media, staff, and delegations. On the top right is the council horseshoe, which you can see from the inside. So that will be your clerks, your CAO, your mayor, and councilors. And on the bottom is the mayor's view of the entire council chambers. So I'll just give you guys a minute just so you guys can look at those photos. And
I'm not hearing any oohs and ahs yet.
It is quite impressive in purpose, or in a person, it looks quite impressive. And I will say that it's much bigger than our existing council chambers.
Oh yeah, by a long way.
So next slide, please. Furthermore, in council chambers, in the top left, you will see senior staff seating. In the top right, you will see support staff seating. And in the bottom center is the view that you get as a citizen listening to all of council chambers and committee of the whole. Next slide, please. So moving up to the councilor and the mayor area, in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the councilor touchdown stations. This is only showing 6 of the touchdown stations. This is actually mirrored onto the other side of the room for a total of 12. In the top right-hand side, you will see the entrance into the CAO and mayor area with a secure sliding door. On the bottom left is the CAO and mayor reception area. So any visitors would have come and signed in there. And on the bottom right is the mayor's office, which is awaiting relocation of his existing furniture. Once again, I'll just leave these slides up for a quick moment so you guys can peruse.
Patrick, in the bottom right hand is the floor. Is that hardwood or carpet?
It is carpeted.
Carpet, okay.
Yeah.
And the one on the left hand side that looks is that carpet as well?
Yes, it is all carpeted, and then I'm in the corridor where you see in the top right with the sliding door. That's actually a vinyl flooring.
The bottom left, it's pretty amazing what you can do with carpet to make it look like wood. It's impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, next slide, please. So in terms of budget, we are looking very healthy. We have about $1.2 million remaining. And a 300,000 once we have it taken away what we have earmarked for the final change orders, the cost of the move, change management, and some post-construction upgrades, which include items that were not included in the original contract for the general contractor. Furthermore, throughout the entire project, we as city staff have been working very diligently to only approve any necessary changes for proper functionality of the new City Hall for once we move. So On the a note of the move, I will pass it off to Lindsay Plant. She has a quick slide that she'd like to give you an update on the move, and afterwards I will be able to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Lindsay?
Thanks, Patrick. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Lindsay Plant. I'm also a project management specialist for the facilities department, and I'm organizing the move to New City Hall. Unfortunately, due to the new provincial restrictions, the move schedule has been delayed by a minimum of 6 weeks. Facilities is currently working on revising this move schedule to accommodate this with as little impact to the overall move schedule as possible. We will be ensuring that all departments that are affected by the move are aware of the new schedule by updating the My City Hall page as soon as it's finalized, and also sending out an all-user communication. Facilities will be starting to meet with each department up to 1 month in advance of their scheduled move date to review and finalize such things as the number of totes required, the number of banker boxes being moved, and also any furniture that's being moved over from each department. As well, move packages are now ready, which will be an overall guide for departments about the move, which will include info such as what to expect, what to pack, what not to pack, and how to pack, including how to label and secure your items. These move packages and also standards and guidelines regarding the move and working from home will also be available on the My City Hall page. Departments should expect an email from facilities with a department-specific move package, including specific timelines and desk assignments about a month prior to each move. So does anyone have any questions regarding New City Hall or the move?
What's the timing on packing our things? And I would assume that you expect us to pack our own offices up.
Through the chair, you will be getting the totes prior to your move about a month ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
But we won't have to carry them, right?
No.
You're gonna do
The
that.
moving company will do that.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, councillors, at this point? I see Mayor Davis's hand up.
Sorry, thanks for
Councillor
recognizing that, even though I didn't do the raised electronic. So through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, and I'm not sure if Lindsay would answer this, or Patrick or Lisa, but what about the parking? There's some parking down below, there is some parking across the street, there'll be some parking on street, there'll be parking in the garage. Have you worked all that out? Who'll be parking where?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have a parking strategy in place. It is on our CityNet too. I'm not sure if councillors have access to that or not, but it does provide information on who's able to park in the underground, which includes the all of council, the general managers, and the CAO, as well as some select departments that need that do a lot of in and out and shipping, especially the mailroom facilities and IT. And all the other staff who will be in the office, for the majority of the day, will be parking at the parkade. We do have some spots reserved at Municipal Lot 3 that will be utilized for staff coming in and out and only spending maybe an hour at a time in the office, like the building inspectors or construction inspectors, the like.
And what about members of the public that'll be visiting City Hall?
So there's, I can't remember the exact count, but there's quite a few parking spaces, free parking around the building on street side, anywhere from a half an hour to 2 hours within proximity of the building. They can also use Municipal Lot 3 or use the Market Center Parkade.
Yeah, and Municipal Parking Lot 3, will we be trying to reserve any spots for like visitors to City Hall? So it'll be kind of close to the building. Great, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So $302,000 looks like that's going to be a surplus to the budget.
Through the chair, at this point, yes, that is what we are estimating. However, if something else comes up unexpected, we would like to reserve that for the time being until all the dust has settled on the project. But currently we are looking rather healthy.
And the repair or replacement of the clock tower is not part of that. That's part of the original budget. So we could reallocate some of that funding to do the clock tower.
The clock tower, I believe, has its own budget, and any of the values that you see there were not allocated towards the clock tower. If there are surpluses in the end, we can choose to allocate them towards a new city hall as we see fit.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
through the-
council. Go ahead.
Yeah, through the chairs, if I could just clarify on that as well. The clock tower project itself is not fully funded yet, but we do have a facade around the clock tower project that has been funded. It's not, there's some more funding later out in the year that could address the clock tower as well. But to Patrick's point, yeah, if council wishes to reallocate some of that funds towards repairing the clock tower, then
Then we could do that. Okay. And then the parking around the building itself, it's kind of sporadic. Some are 15 minutes, some are half hour, some are 2 hours. Are we looking at adjusting the parking so when people visit City Hall, that timing is corrected? So that we can have some consistent parking?
Through the chair, I can answer that one. I think that's a very good point to bring up, and it's something that we can include in the parking strategy going
Yeah, 'cause
forward.
I mean, 15 minutes is not going to get you anywhere in City Hall.
No,
And
of course.
Tent was when there's a post office there, you run in and get your mail and you're back out, but that current number 15 doesn't work. So we will be adjusting that. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
through the chair, if I could just clarify, sorry.
Yep.
I believe that we were going to look into that with our Public Works Department to see if that could be altered or not. But the parking at the front of the building along Dalhousie and Queen is 30 minutes. And then in behind the building is 2 hours along Darling Street. And then anything a little bit farther than just directly in front of the building is 2 hours as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wall, and then Mayor Davis.
I'm not sure if this is the time or place, but I'm going to ask it because it's about the new City Hall. Is our current downtown security patrolling the new City Hall?
Through the chair, yes, they do include that as a patrol to stop, to drive by or walk by as they're patrolling the areas.
Awesome. Okay, and then I had sent you an email this week just based on some feedback we had got from members of the BIA during the most recent BIA board meeting about additional exterior lighting at City Hall.
Yep, in response to your question, our new security technical specialist that we have on board now will be having a review of the facility as soon as he gets a chance to identify if there's any additional lighting we could have added on to improve security and safety in general around the building.
And okay, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Mayor Davis, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So question, I kind of lost track of this. I mean, we've had a lot on our plates the last year, but you know, the naming of rooms, the wall of fame, I think that's what it is.
Recognition.
Recognition for recognition. Where's all that at, and some of the artwork and whatnot.
So through the chair, the wall of recognition will be moving over as is, as per, I think we got direction to that either a task force meeting or council meeting to bring it over just as is. We are looking at different frames though to make them more consistent, and that'll be located between the new council chambers and the new Charlie Ward room, right next to the video wall. There's a large portion of wall down that corridor, which will be named the Max Sherman Foyer. So some of the meeting rooms that are moving over from the existing City Hall is the existing council chamber, sorry, the Charlie Ward room. So that one has been approved by council to move over, as well as the Max Sherman Foyer, which will be the main corridor leading up to the council chambers. Room naming was, there was a staff engagement done for the lunchroom, it's called the Clock Tower Cafe. And then all of the meeting rooms within the building have been named after different neighborhoods within the city, and they've been placed kind of strategically in areas where it would be closest to those neighborhoods.
Great, thanks. And the art piece, the historical art piece.
Sorry, through the chair, do you mean the public art piece? That's what you said? Okay. Yeah, the public art piece actually I think was intended to be complete very shortly, and is going in that same foyer, Max Sherman foyer, just outside of the council chambers.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And Lise, can I get a mover to receive this information, please? Councillor Wall, Mayor Davis, any discussion? Don't see any hands up. So all those in favor, please raise your hands. And I believe Councillor Martin, I can't see you, but I assume that your hand was up. Kelly, did you?
I got that. It has carried. Thank you
got it?
very much.
Okay. Thank you all very much. So that's great. We'll move on to our 4.4 final report of City Accommodation Task Force. Lisa, you're going to lead us through this, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. We had a couple more updates, just very verbal, quick updates to provide.
I'm sorry.
On the accommodations projects.
Okay.
So the next one is just a very quick update on how things are going with the police accommodations. So I'll provide a quick update on that, and then I'll pass things over to Gord, and then maybe we'll open back up to questions again on these two items. So with respect to the Brantford Police Services redevelopment, staff are moving this project along, meeting monthly with Enbridge, as well as have formed a staff level working group, including the police services and realty and facilities. We've had an updated building condition assessment done, and to help inform what type of renovations are needed for the interior, and staff are reviewing the logistics for temporary accommodations over at the tourism center as well for some of those departments that may be affected by the construction on site. Pre-consultation process was completed for both the police station and the Enbridge sites, respectively, and we're working towards a purchase of sale agreement for the land transfer and hiring, as well as hiring a planning and engineering consultant to assist us with the site plan approval process, including any studies or reports that may be required. And in parallel, we're also working on pre-qualifying a prime consultant for the design of the redevelopment of the project.
Thank you, Lise. Any questions? I don't see any hands up, other than, is the land acquisition part of the 39 million, Lise?
Yes, that's correct. There was a budget
right.
allocation included in that 39
Okay,
million.
thank you. If not, let's move on to your next update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to give a brief update on the status of the Provincial Offences Court and Community Services and Social Development Accommodations Plan. Staff are currently reviewing existing spaces and strategizing on a phasing schedule for relocations and renovations, while putting together terms of reference for a prime consultant to complete the space needs and assessments, concept designs, and a Class D cost estimate. We are looking at reducing space at 220 Colburn over the next 12 to 18 months until we have a new hub location identified. We could potentially pilot sites that may have space available for a decentralized CSSD counter sooner rather than later. CSSD is working on determining a menu of services for central hub and decentralized service locations. And meanwhile, a memorandum of understanding has been drafted between the city and Wilfrid Laurier with respect to potential educational and research opportunities at the Provincial Offences Court. Next, we will be meeting with Wilfrid Laurier to review space and leasing opportunities at One Market Square.
Thank you for the update, Gord. Any questions or comments? I don't see any hands up. Okay, thank you. Let's, we okay to move on to 4.4 now, please? Okay, thank you.
And lastly, we have a report presented to the task force, which is titled the Final Accommodation Task Force Report. And this report is a result of the procedural bylaw review that we've undertaken, which was required to review the task force mandate and identify any tasks or timelines that are left to be completed to complete that mandate. And upon our review of the task force history, we discovered a couple of things, including that there actually was no formal resolution to adopt the task force, and the terms of references that were drafted and approved at the first task force meeting were never ratified by council. However, the task force has done an amazing job at and has successfully completed their mandate and their primary objectives, as well as one of council's top priorities, which was to review the city's accommodation strategies to consider lessons learned during COVID-19 related to working from home and other flexible employee arrangements. In October of 2020, Council approved Report 2020-349 titled Overall Accommodation and Yard Facility Plan Post-COVID-19, and provided a new City Hall update as well, which revised our overall accommodations for the city moving forward. In accordance with Robert's rules, which states the purpose of a task force is to carry out a specific task at the completion of which, that is on presentation of its final report to the Assembly, it automatically ceases to exist. Staff are of the opinion that the City Accommodation Task Force has completed their task and fulfilled their mandate.
Thank you, Lise. Any questions or comments? If not, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Carpenter, are you moving or did you want to ask a question?
Well, I'll move it, but I want a question too.
Okay. And I need a seconder, please. Mayor Davis. Okay, Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, okay, Lisa, I understand what you're saying about the mandate. Surprised it wasn't finalized properly, but I thought we were looking at the works department accommodation strategy, Parks and Rec accommodation strategy. Are those things not going to be coming forward, or are they not in the works, or will the council not have a committee that's part of that process? Or how is that working?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, they are. That is part of the overall administrative and yards accommodation strategy that we brought forward back in October. And that has been applied to the 10-year capital plan. It actually will start up next year in the design phase. It's probably the only one that hasn't started yet. And staff are intending to report back as needed, but hopefully annually to provide any kind of updates and answer any questions that council may have.
So the cost of the building, say for the yards, of where it's going to be, how it's going to be, you'll just bring that to committee of the whole. There won't be a accommodation strategy committee to look at that or to assist in moving these things forward?
Correct. If there's any changes to the scope or the budget required, then we would bring that back to let you know and be able to be informed about that and make a decision as to whether or not the budget should change or the scope should change.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Davis.
Yeah, I support this for a couple of different reasons. One, we got so many task forces, and they really are. They do take a lot of administrative time up on the part of staff, and really, it's almost, having watched it over a year and a half, 2 years, it's almost like a bit of a duplication. And I think the end result is, I start from the proposition that probably there are fewer people watching a task force meeting. We know there are. There's way more that watch committee of the whole, and people are used to watching committee of the whole, and that's where they go to see, what's happening in the city and why decisions will be made in the discussion. And what happens when you have the discussion, I may just state in the obvious, but you had the kind of the more detailed discussion here, and then it goes up to committee of the whole. The discussion's not quite the same, and sometimes it's not even separated. And so we lose that opportunity to really take advantage of our most visible meeting, the committee of the whole, I know the issues go up there anyways, but I think there's an advantage to the public if they see those issues coming up the first time at committee of the whole, which is really what committee of the whole is designed for. And they'll see the full discussion, and I don't think we lose anything. I think there was a good reason for taking on this particular project in this format, but I really don't see the value in continuing it with what's coming up, and probably can very more effectively dealt with it both procedurally, administratively, and just in terms of keeping the public informed going through committee of the whole. But a question on that, Lee, so a couple of those projects, especially the public works accommodation project, that's a lot of public interest, a lot of councillor interest in that. Would you be thinking, like, coming to the council every year or committee of the whole every year, would you be considering something that would be somewhat not every year, but I guess depending what the projects are, how intense they become, maybe a more regular reporting?
Please, do you want me to take that? I think, Mr. Mayor, if I can, through you, Mr. Chair, Utley, is key milestones, key changes to the plan. And they have the plan that was approved last October, but key milestones and key launch points, we'd bring this plan back. We would bring back an annual report, but also bring back key points. And my other point I wanted to make, not to your question, Mr. Mayor, I'm not answering, but just, one of the role of the council is to have oversight. You have to know that since I started the last year and a half, Lise will tell you this, we meet every 2 months. What you're seeing right now, we've already done internally. I believe in internal project management, a team of HR and IT and a bunch of other people sit on it, and Lise reports to them to make sure we stay on time and on budget, not that these things drift off. So her team, all the presentation you've seen, we've already done, made sure they stay on top. So council's worried about oversight of these. Good project manager always has oversight. So we do plan on bringing back things at key milestones, but also have that oversight from now on until the future. So good management oversight will also be done as well.
Okay. Well, last comment I made, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, yeah, I agree. I feel, not that I didn't feel confident in the team that was there before, overseen by Jeff Lichtenstein, but the team that we have now, led by Lise, I got to hand it to you. I think you've done, in about a year now, you've been working this position. The team you've got, some of whom we saw this afternoon, kudos to you. You've done an excellent job in a pretty difficult project of the downtown City Hall, and I really want to thank you personally and on behalf of the mayor's office for leading us through this and just demonstrating what a highly competent manager you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Wall.
Thanks.
Oh, there you go.
I said the most profound, amazing things too. You guys missed it. Sorry. If this is the end of the committee, I also wanted to just say how much I enjoyed being on this committee. I learned a tremendous amount about things that I really didn't know a lot about before. And I am also thankful to our incredible staff for the detailed reports that they provide, for putting up with my crazy questions constantly, all the time, and helping me learn and grow and helping keep this city on track. And I really appreciate your time, and I very much enjoyed sitting here and being a part.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carpenter, would you be kind enough to read out the motion, please?
Sure. Final, I think I tried that the first time. But
yeah, it's 4.4.
Accommodation Task Force. A, that staff report 2021, report 322, final report, City Accommodation Task Force procedural bylaw requirement be received. And B, that staff report back as necessary in the progress of the accommodation plans to City Council. And that C, that the City Accommodation Task Force be disbanded having completed its mandate. And just record me in the negative, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Mayor Davis, you're okay to second? Yeah.
Yes.
I'd just like to, as Chair, I'd like to thank council members and the mayor for your support over the past, I can't recall how, it's at least 3-4 years maybe. It's been quite a ride. Very much appreciate your input and your support through this task force. And of course, staff have been absolutely wonderful through all of this. We've had some staff members that have left the city, and our thanks go to them as well. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favour? I think Councillor Carpenter has intended to vote in the no for this one. Kelly, you've got everyone?
Yes, it has carried.
We have one consent item on the agenda for today. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Nobody? Somebody? Okay, Mayor Davis and Councillor Martin. Thank you, Councillor Martin. I can't see you from here. So any questions, comments? Not. All those in favour? I can't see your hand. Councillor Martin? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So that's passed. There are no resolutions, no notices of motion. And with that, we are adjourned, and thank